Imagine waking up one day and discovering you've got a completely different last name. Not because your parents got divorced, but because your grandfather became king and triggered a royal identity reshuffling that makes witness protection programs look simple. That's exactly what happened to Prince George, and most people completely missed it. Welcome back to Royal Cookies, where we serve up the juiciest royal gossip with a side of heart-wrenching humanity. Please remember to subscribe and click on the notifications bell icon, so you will be notified whenever we upload new cookies about the British royal family. We're talking about a 12-year-old who's already had more name changes than most celebrities, and the biggest transformation is still coming. From Cambridge to Wales to potentially King Alexander VII, George's identity crisis is more complicated than a soap opera plot twist. So here's the absolutely mental thing that slipped past everyone while they were obsessing over the Queen's funeral and King Charles's coronation. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are no longer using the last name Cambridge. They've become the Wales kids overnight. When King Charles ascended the throne, William automatically became the Prince of Wales, which means Prince George of Wales. Princess Charlotte of Wales and Prince Louis of Wales got brand new identities faster than you can say constitutional monarchy. It's like the royal equivalent of getting a software update while you sleep. But here's what makes this absolutely bonkers. Prince George of Wales, George Alexander Louis, born the 22nd of July, 2013, went from being a Cambridge kid to a Wales heir without anyone making a big deal about it. Most families need lawyers and paperwork for name changes. George just needed his grandpa to put on a crown. The timing was perfect royal chaos. While everyone was crying over the Queen's death and arguing about whether Charles would be a good king, 3 royal children quietly got rebranded like they were switching from Pepsi to Coke. He would be formally known as Prince George of Cambridge, past tense, because now he's officially Prince George of Wales. And the palace handled this transition so smoothly that most people didn't even realize it happened until months later. It's like the royal communications team said, "Oh, by the way, those kids have completely different names now. Hope that's cool with everyone." Right, so let's talk about Prince George's absolutely mental collection of potential names. Because this kid has more identity options than a character creation screen in a video game. George Alexander Louis, that's not just a name. That's a menu of future royal possibilities. If Prince George does choose another title, he may opt for King Alexander or King Louis, which are both his middle names, though the former is more likely as the second name is also that of his younger brother. King Alexander. Can you imagine the absolute power move of ditching George entirely and becoming King Alexander VII? It's like Clark Kent deciding to go by Superman full-time. But here's where it gets deliciously complicated. George has been named after multiple kings, which means he's carrying the weight of centuries of royal history in his 3 names. George for the modern Georges, Alexander for the warrior kings, and Louis for, well, avoiding confusion with his little brother. The strategic brilliance of giving him 3 royal names becomes clear when you realize his parents basically gave him multiple paths to the throne. It's like naming your kid Dr. Lawyer Engineer Smith, just to cover all the career options. And the pressure this puts on a 12-year-old is absolutely astronomical. Prince George is about to turn 12, and it means royal family vacations just got a whole lot more complicated. Not just because of travel protocols, but because he's old enough to start thinking about which version of himself he wants to be as king. But here's the absolutely wild part. George Alexander Louis, a name that sees him more likely to become a billionaire than his younger siblings Princess Charlotte and Louis. His name is literally predicting his financial future. It's like being born with a built-in fortune cookie prediction. But why do royal names matter so much? And what does George's choice reveal about the future of the monarchy? Now here's where this story gets absolutely fascinating from a psychological perspective. Royal names aren't just identity markers. They're political statements, historical connections, and brand positioning all rolled into one. When George eventually chooses his regnal name, he's not just picking what to be called. He's choosing what kind of king he wants to be. Think about it. King George VII would connect him to the recent Georges, George VI, his great-great-grandfather who led Britain through World War II, and the earlier Georges of the 18th and 19th centuries. It's the safe, traditional choice that says, I'm continuing the family business exactly as expected. But King Alexander VII? That's a completely different energy. Alexander suggests conquest, strength, innovation. It's the name of empire builders and game changers. King Alexander or King Louis, which are both his middle names, though the former is more likely because Alexander carries more historical weight than Louis in British royal tradition. And here's what's absolutely brilliant about this naming flexibility. It allows George to rebrand the monarchy based on what the country needs when he becomes king. If Britain needs traditional stability, he goes with George. If the country needs revolutionary change, he chooses Alexander. The psychological impact on the British public will be massive. Imagine the headlines: New King chooses revolutionary name versus New King honors family tradition. Same person, completely different narrative based purely on name choice. But there's also the international implications to consider. King Alexander VII sounds more internationally commanding than King George VII. If Britain is trying to maintain global influence in the 2070s, Alexander might be the strategic choice for projecting strength on the world stage. Right, so let's talk about what it actually means for George to be of Wales instead of Cambridge. Because this isn't just a paperwork change. This is about fundamentally altering his royal identity during his most formative years. If you're obsessed with royal strategy and environmental impact like I am, make sure you're subscribed to Royal Cookies because we're serving up the most sustainable royal content on YouTube. And remember, in a world full of fast fashion and royal scandals, sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is wear your values on your sleeve, preferably in a gorgeous shade of green. Sophie's proving that environmental activism isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become. Until next time, keep munching on those eco-friendly royal cookies.